Am I live? I think I might be live. I'm not really sure. What's going on here? What's going on? Okay. So happy Sunday, everyone. Today is setup Sunday for me. And so what that means is I use Sundays to kind of get myself set up for the week, right? Like content, jump on my workload, something like that. So setup Sunday for me. But I'm in a group. I'll be transparent here, okay? I'm in a group and we have a challenge to make a difference with Facebook Live videos for 7 whole days. So I said, game on. You know, like, I'm always up for a video, right? Like, you know me. I love the camera. So I don't mean that I'm good at it. I just mean, okay, I'll do it. So I have spent some time starting last week deciding what I'm going to talk about. Whereas most of my videos, I just ramble and enjoy all the people that tune in and comment and help me out with this little thing we call life. I actually sat out and thought this out. So part 1 of what I learned in rehab is, I'm going to just hit it, y'all. Here we come. Ready? Processing trauma. Processing trauma. That is probably the biggest lesson. Maybe. I don't know. I wrote out a list. I have it all planned out. So I'll let you determine after the series ends which is the biggest. But processing trauma was a huge one. Okay, so in case you missed it, I went to rehab. Hey, Kenny. I'm so glad you're here. I went to rehab in February of 2019 for 23 days. And I woke up one morning hungover again, and I decided that was the last day I was going to do that. That day I would get in my car, hit the interstate, and make sure that an 18-wheeler ended my life. I did not follow through with that plan. I went to, thank God, plan B, which was call for help. So that's what I did, and I went to inpatient in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, for 23 days, and I learned a lot. Now, I was in a facility. Let me just say this, because there are all different types of facilities. I'm not a specialist on them, but I have looked into, since starting my sobriety swag business, and just because I am a learner, that's what I do probably better than anything, is learn things. So I've looked into the different types of facilities, and I was at one where I did not have a cell phone. I did not have connection to the outside world other than 10 minutes a week. I got on a landline phone, like there was a cord attached to this phone. It's craziness. So I couldn't get on the internet or anything. Hey, Cheryl. So today I'm talking about processing trauma, which I started in Jacksonville at this rehab facility. Like I said, I didn't have contact with the outside world. And what I took with me was, one of the things was this red binder here. And it has been through it, y'all. So I get there to Jacksonville and they hand me a binder, which I don't have with me. But they hand me a binder, and the first assignment was you had to write your life story. Hey, Carrie Craig. So at that time in my life, when I got there to rehab and I'm handed my binder and they're like, here's your first assignment, write your life story. Well, look, I had been all about some shortcuts, okay? I thought shortcuts was how it was gonna be. So I saved me a 2-page spread, and this whole journal I took, a 2-page spread. You can tell there's 2 different color inks on there, right? Like, I didn't even have it in me to write it all at one time. But I started doing bullet points, and I started with my birth in 1978. I was like, I didn't have a clue where to start, right? Like, I just didn't have a clue, and that's okay. You got to start somewhere. So there I was, and I wrote down my first memories from my first house, like literally the first memories I had in my life. And so it took me several days, and then as I got into it, and again, I was in an environment that was controlled and I was highly medicated. I did a medical detox, in case you're not familiar with what that is. You typically do not die from methamphetamine, heroin, other types of withdrawal, but you can die from alcohol and benzos. So I was on a medical detox. I don't regret that decision at all. And again, I'm not a specialist in that area, but I will tell you that while I was highly medicated, I was also extremely emotional. And so it was a great time to just dive in. I think my brain was clearing. I think the clarity, it's not like it happens overnight, y'all. It's not like, okay, here I am. I got there 2 days clean. And it's not like on the 4th or 5th day I was like, oh yay, I'm ready to process some trauma. Let's do this. It's not like that at all. And as this journal serves to remind me, but what ended up I thought was going to be bullet points carried on to additional pages that I have here in my hand and really throughout this entire notebook. So I was going to share some of that. And then I decided I'm not. And the reason I'm not is because towards my last few days there, I have some friends. They probably don't want to comment. Hey, Kenny, I didn't know that. That's awesome. Towards the last few days there, I got a Sharpie. I should probably do it for you, but I got a Sharpie and put the word enough on my left wrist because I wasn't allowed to wear my watch or any jewelry or anything like that because it's valuable. So, you know, you can't be in a facility and have these things. They asked us not to bring that. So I was without my tag hewers, which is pretty much the only thing still to this day I have of any value. So if you're going to come rob me, that's all you got. Just tell me first. Don't break anything. I'll give it to you. Whatever. Don't hurt me. But yeah, enough. That was my biggest thing. I struggle with not being pretty enough, smart enough, thin enough, popular enough, educated enough, womanly enough, feminine enough, enough there was. Like, struggle was entirely real between my ears up here. And I had a huge awakening and acceptance moment processing this trauma that I went through, and that was that I'm enough. And I'm not going to tell you about all my experience right here, right now, because I think what I wanted to convey is that you have to start somewhere. And just going through the groups, I learned boundaries, I learned assertive communication, I learned some life skills, some coping skills. That was phenomenal. But the root of my problem, as it turned out, was just not feeling enough. And I wouldn't wish that on anyone. There's no one walking this planet that I want to go through 40 years of that like I did. So I wanted to leave you guys, just start with that. That's day one, is processing trauma. And everybody, you know, another reason I don't want to go through the details is because it doesn't matter if you've made it this far. If you're old enough to have social media and you're old enough to be on here, then guess what? You've probably hit some rough patches, right? Like, we've all got it. So I don't want it to be a comparison. If people relate to other people, I think that's fantastic. But my message is that we've all been through it, and it can set you back or it can catapult you forward. I choose now to leave most of it just where it is yesterday. It's not part of my future, but it was step one. It was totally step one. Yes, Mr. Sessions on here with the big guns. Yes, you're right. We all struggle. So that's another reason. But let me just leave you with this. I've run over like way longer than I thought I was going to, but I did find a quote. So we had a scientist there, a research scientist that came and spoke to us every week. And this dude was like totally nerdy and amazing. Like, I was like, I don't know, it was my favorite lecture when I was inpatient, was listening to the scientists speak, which I've never been like huge on scientists. If you went to school with me, you know that that's when I zoned out and like went to creative writing. But for some reason, I have really taken to learning about the brain and how it works. And so he amazed me, and I have kept that up. There is an addiction specialist, Dr. Gabor Mate. There's a lot on YouTube if you want to look that up. But he believes that anything we've ever craved helped us to escape emotional pain. It gave us peace of mind, a sense of control, and a feeling of happiness. Spot on. Like, he identified it for me, okay? He goes on to define addiction as any behavior that gives a person temporary relief and pleasure, but also has negative consequences. I know about those. To which the individual will return to time and time again. Yes, that's me. Okay, so he's a little bit different than what you may have heard about addiction as well. Again, I'm not the specialist. I rely on specialists. And I also, science. That's my big study right now. He believes there's no such thing as an addictive personality or that addiction is a disease. He says no. He said it originates in a person's need to solve a problem, a deep-seated problem, often from our earliest years, that has to do with trauma or loss. So he has a couple books and a lot on YouTube, and when I read his work to begin with, it really resonated with me. Like, it hit home. And again, it all stemmed back to crying out for help and then working my way through all of this that's just that was hanging out there and taking over every part of my day. So as I continue through this series, there'll be some other tips but it always comes back to finding a way through that trauma. For my addiction, that's where it was deeply rooted. And some of it, not all of it, like early, like that I had, some of it had been in the recent years, like 2014, 2015, that sort of thing. So it just, I just thought that this would be a good place to start because it's where I started. You know, it's the first thing that I had to overcome and conquer, and it really still rings true. I can see it when I look back, of course, always clearer, but I can see that is where, that's where the work had to start to get me where I am today. And in case you missed it, I had just hit 16 months. I never in my entire adult life thought that I would go 16 months without alcohol. But here I have done it. So again, I'm not an expert. I just wanted to share my story with everyone. And this is part 1. There will be more parts every day. And I just look forward to helping anyone that I can. If you have any questions or you want to talk about it, you can reach out to me. And since I started a business based on sobriety swag, a lot of it, there's a reason behind those things on our shirts and our coffee mugs and stuff like that. So you'll get some insight into that over the next few days. Thanks, you guys. Have a wonderful Sunday. Set it up for greatness today.